So quarter of the way through, basically, looking at our top 10, starting it out, I had a hard time with my 10, 11, 12, 13 spot because every single one of my teams at the 10, 11, 13, 10, 11, 12, 13 lost. So the people who just missed a cut from me is the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Seattle Seahawks, all just missing the cut, all taking losses. And my number 10 also taking a loss, but doing it against a team that is ranked very, very, very high in the power rankings, very deservedly so. And that is the Green Bay Packers, still sticking in the top 10. They were in the top 10 last week, just barely hanging on. And that's just because all those 4 teams, including them, did end up losing. So they end up staying in there, putting up a good performance, trying to come back against those Minnesota Vikings, a division opponent. So not sure how much stock you really put into that, but they're ranked really, really high. They put up a good fight there at the end. I barely kept them in there for that.
Yeah, my 11 through 14 are kind of the same. We got the Steelers, we got the Seahawks, we got the Saints. We do have the Packers there. I did not put them in the top 10. You're winning with your backup quarterback, and then you get your starter back who you just handed this big contract to, and then you lose. It's just kind of deflating. Now, I will tell you, this right here, these are my podcast notes.
Inside scoop.
Yeah, I got my top 10 on this, but what you can't see is the freaking 15 pages that I threw away to get here, which is super exciting to have that much thought go into a top 10 power ranking.
Absolutely.
Most of the reason is because I hate my team right now. But I do have to say the team that I ranked in at number 10, they are a young emerging team. I don't think anyone expected them to be where they're at right now. But all of a sudden, entering into week 5, they are fully in command of not only their season, but their division. Yep. And that would be the young Jaden Daniels-led Washington Commanders. They're in the top 10 for 2 reasons. They're number 1 in their division. I believe in their head coach. I believe in their quarterback, and I'm going to continue to pound the table for Jaden Daniels because Jacob did not like him in the pre-draft process. And I told you they have a legitimate front office now. Yep. My guy, Adam Peters. Let me tell you about Adam Peters' background. The Bill Belichick Patriots, the John Elway Broncos, the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch 49ers, and now he's there in Washington with a new ownership group. And like I said, at number 10, fully in command of their season, the Commanders.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, except I have them 1 spot higher at the number 9 spot. For all the reasons that you said, absolutely. Wasn't a fan of Jaden Daniels coming into the pre-draft process. All that, we've talked about this multiple times now, a couple weeks in a row. Everything kind of gets thrown out of the window as soon as we start playing the actual games and you're set into a certain system. Forget the system. Jaden Daniels is the system. You don't just I don't want to harp on it too much because he's going to be in the later segment, and he's already made me eat crow, and so I'm put a very thorough list together of all the things that he's done up to this point. So I want to save that for the rookie check-in, but just know he's playing fantastic. And if you're only listening to just the power ranking segment, first of all, listen to our full-length podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff, or YouTube, or go check out the clip of the rookie check-in up to this point. So again, Jaden Daniels, absolutely agree with you up to this point. 4 weeks in, looking incredible. Sitting at my number 9 spot. Who's in your number 9?
So I guess this is where we just slightly disagree. I'm guessing that the rest of the way, most of our stuff is going to be pretty similar.
Very close,
but at number 9, and I'll tell you, I rank these guys in and out. They've won in the playoffs recently, so that's why I have them in front of the Commanders, even though the Commanders have a better record than them, and they're in the same division. At number 9, I do still have the Philadelphia Eagles. The team is just – they're officially, for me, though, on suspicious alert. They are red flagged all over the place. I think this thing with Sirianni is going bad. Like, I think it's going bad. And – once again, we got an offensive coordinator there who is not making sense of anything. And this team it has so much talent. You have Saquon, you have 2-star wide receivers, you have a really good tight end.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense to me why they look like they look like they're hungover. Like when you expect something out of someone and they get really drunk the night before, then they come out and play. That's what the Philadelphia Eagles look like right now.
Yep.
And I wanted to drop them out of the top 10, but the Packers lose with their starting quarterback. The Seahawks lose. The Steelers lose. It was just like, well, I'm not going to drop a team out that's been in the top 10 all year for somebody that wasn't quite that impressive. And frankly, the only other team that I considered was Dallas, but they looked terrible. But it was
Like
also
dog shit.
Thursday night, and every team looks terrible on Thursday night. So I thought about putting them back in because they did get the W, and it's a Thursday night game, and it really means nothing. But it's funny I probably could have switched these teams. I could have put the command, but you can't debut any higher than 10, I don't think. Like, it's your first time in the top 10, you can't be any higher than 10. So that's where I'm at.
Sitting at my number 8 spot is a team that has reemerged back inside of the top 10, and a team that recently has just won 2 games in a row against 2 playoff aspiration hopeful teams, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. We talked about the Ravens a little bit in the offensive player of the week with Lamar and Derrick Henry and how well they've played, and I didn't really give them a whole lot of credit against Dallas because I brought it up last week. I'm a pretty pessimistic Dallas fan, but doing against the Buffalo Bills, who still, spoiler alert, ranks very, very, very high in this top 10 for both of us, you deserve to be put back inside that top 10. You're sitting at that 8th spot. You're only ahead of a team, for me, that's debuting in the top 10 for the first time in the Commanders, and a team that lost this past week, put up a good fight, but lost. So their default put at that number 8 spot. So I'm with you. I think it was a lot of fun to try to put together that 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 spot. But these teams 7 through 1 for me, I think are pretty solidified, and I really like all of their chances going forward. Who's your number 8?
I had the Buccaneers at number 8.
Okay.
They slipped up, and now they're back. And are you still there?
I am.
Okay, you disappeared for a second. I thought you hated my take, so you're like, nope, I'm done.
I only have the Bucs one spot higher. We're right there basically.
And so you got the Buccaneers at 7. I got the Ravens at 7. So we could put a bow on that because we're right there on both those teams.
Absolutely.
The Ravens lose to the Kansas City Chiefs by an inch, and then they blow a 10-point. They blow a 10-point lead to the Raiders in the fourth quarter, which will end up being the Raiders Super Bowl.
Yep.
All the Raiders fans at work, by the way, are on suicide watch because of this Devontae Adams news. So they had their Super Bowl when they beat the Ravens, and that's about it. So yeah, the Buccaneers. The reason why I didn't put them a little bit higher is just because we know that there's going to be a couple times this year where Baker Mayfield's going to forget that he's this version of Baker Mayfield, and he's going to be Cleveland Browns Baker Mayfield for a game, and it's going to cost him because ultimately the talent on that team, while it's good, is not going to be able to overcome his bad decision making every 5 or 6 weeks. But
yeah,
the Buccaneers are going to be that team in the playoffs where everybody's like, shit, I don't want to play them. That was the Lions and the Packers last year. Obviously, they both those teams should have beat the 49ers in their games. And I think just ultimately our experience kind of won those games for us. But the Buccaneers are shaping up to be that team that nobody wants to play. Baker Mayfield's just going to huck it, bro. Mike Evans is down there. Chris Godwin's down there. He's down there. Just
so good.
He's down there somewhere.
Well, that's Lavonte David still doing his thing on defense. And they look good. At the end of the day, absolutely.
If Bucky Irving, if his injury issues are going to be long term, that's going to suck because Rashawn White is not good at running the football. But
one of the most inefficient running backs this year and last year, back-to-back years. These stretch of 10 games in a row. He's the most inefficient running back. Not even close.
Which is funny because they keep getting. He's a threat in the passing game. He's really good in the passing game. But you gotta. I guess you got to continue to give him the carries so you don't know what's coming back there. But at some point, you just got to realize, we got to figure this out because we cannot be one-dimensional come playoff time.
No, I'm absolutely there with you. So we already covered our number 8 and our number 7 spot. At my number 6 spot, which I believe this is the exact same spot that I have them last week, it might actually be one spot higher for actually capturing a win, regardless of who it was against, is your San Francisco 49ers at that 6th spot. Are you there at the same place, or did you move them up more? Okay, so Perfect.
Yeah. So
Exact same place.
some stuff came out about Christian McCaffrey this week, and the
Both
49ers
legs.
the 49ers are talking about ramping him back up, and then the national beat reporters are talking about he's out to like week 12. So I don't know which way this is going to go.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of concerns with the fact that we do not have a backup running back on the roster at the moment. Garindo, we drafted as a rookie. He had every carry he's gotten has gone for a loss. Every carry he's gotten has been a negative play. And then he took a kickoff this week and he just ran up his own player's hit back and decided to fumble. It was like the Mark Sanchez butt fumble, right? So
Go trade for Miles Sanders if you want.
Kyle Shanahan is going to do this thing where he's just going to hand Jordan Mason. Shout out to Jordan Mason. He's the number 2 running back in the league right now, right?
Yep.
He's just going to hand him 24 carries a game, and he's going to break down by week 7 or week 8. And we don't have a backup on the roster, so I'm super nervous about that. The defense finally bounced back, but they're absolutely awful on third down conversions. They can't get off the field, and they bounced back against the Patriots. So does it really mean anything? They got the Cardinals this week, who notoriously give them problems. The week after that, they got the Seahawks, who are on fire. And then after that, they got to go Chiefs-Cowboys. So that's not great at all.
Guaranteed one in one of them.
Well, I hope we lose to the Chiefs because we're not beating the Chiefs twice this season, I don't think. So let's lose to the Chiefs so we can beat them in the Super Bowl if we have to. But, the fact remains, Brock Purdy is on a MVP pace once again.
The MVP race so far has been a lot of fun, with Brock solidifying himself right there along with a bunch of other quarterbacks who probably shouldn't be there, but they are.
Yeah, Brock's processing is just so good. And I've almost come to the point where I've accepted the fact that he's really good. Some of these plays that he's making, it's mind-boggling to see where he throws the ball in relation to where the receiver is at the time, and then just to watch the play come together. It's just I hate doing this comparison thing. People are going to clip this and tell me I'm an idiot, but it's very Peyton Manning-ish. Peyton Manning had a terrible arm toward the end of his career, but he just knew where the player was going to be. And it's just really fun after watching years of hospital balls from Jimmy to watch a really good quarterback play. Before Jimmy, we had Colin Kaepernick throwing 109-mile-an-hour fastballs to guys that were 3 yards away from him. So it's just it's relaxing to watch good quarterback play. But, if they come out and beat the Cardinals, if they come back out and beat these next 4 games, if they go 3-1, they'll probably be top 4 again for me. But right now I'm a little, the Christian McCaffrey news is not great. And, but luckily we're getting our rookie back who probably should have died, but didn't, when he was shot in the chest. And the next day he was at practice. So Pearsall should be coming back here soon. So hopefully we can start talking about him on the rookie roundup. Beautiful. Fingers crossed.
Looking at the number 5 spot, and our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 might be the exact same. So looking at the number 5 spot, I have the Detroit Lions. Same spot? No, you moved them. Okay, so I'm guessing we have 4 and 5 swapped. I'm guessing. My 5 is the Lions. My 4 is the Houston Texans. No? Move the Vikings down 1 spot?
No, I dropped the Bills, bro.
Oh, wow. Okay, you did.
Yep, because the book was put out on them. The Ravens put the book out on them. When Josh Allen, when they can run the ball with James Cook, when he can run the ball, when they can control the pace, when they can get out ahead of teams, it's going to be really hard to beat this team because it's going to be really hard to get them off the field.
I said the Bills because I didn't know if you were actually going to drop them. I know your love.
Yeah, I dropped them to 5 just because now there's a clear and obvious way to beat this team. If you can get out in front of them, the offense just does not have the firepower yet. No, maybe they trade for Devontae and that changes, but I dropped them because the book is out. And frankly, I was super impressed by the Lions, and the Texans bounced back really well. So I got the Bills at 5.
Okay. Bills are a couple spots higher for me, but Detroit Lions are sitting at my number 5 spot. They went out, they beat the Seattle Seahawks. How you feel about that kind of depends on your view of the Seattle Seahawks. But again, talking about with the game of the week, seeing their offense come to life and actually have a good performance from a handful of the guys we've been waiting for to really all come together. Jared Goff being perfect, Jameson Williams really looking great this season, Amon-Ra St. Brown doing his thing, and then the two-headed monster at the running back position, with Frank Ragnow being out on their offensive line, still being able to churn and chug and still being able to do everything that they can do at this point. Looks fantastic. So I just like the guys in front of them. At this point, we talk about this every single week. It comes to a point where you just like the teams in front of them. And for me, that just kind of situates the Lions at that number 5 spot, which I still enjoy quite a bit. Who's your, so you said your Buffalo Bills are the number 5 spot. I have them a couple spots higher. And then you already kind of broke that down. So who's your 4?
The Houston Texans.
Okay. So we both have the Texans at that 4 spot.
Yep. Nothing changes. I'm a big believer. I'm a little nervous that maybe their inexperience and, stuff. And, come to find out, the Vikings defense might just be legit. Brian Flores might just be getting himself a head coaching job. So I'm not going to hold what happened against the Texans against the Vikings, just like I don't really hold it against the 49ers. I'm more pissed at the 49ers for losing that game to the Rams, which they should not have won because they were kicking their ass. But, the Ravens lose to the Raiders. Things are weird in the first month of the season. But, yeah, the Houston Texans are everything we thought they were. Obviously, you were a little higher on them than I was to begin the season just because I'm like, what's the likelihood that C.J. Stroud can do this back-to-back? So far, he's doing it. So I got them firmly implanted in number 4. Honestly, my top 5 here, it's going to be really hard to see any of them fall. Now, if the Bills lose again next week, maybe. But,
yeah.
We were talking about next week what it was going to take for the Bills to supplant the Chiefs. We talked about that last week, and then the Bills came out and laid a stinker, and the Chiefs took home a dub. So I got the Texans at 4.
I have the Buffalo Bills at that 3 spot. They just dropped 1 spot for me. Still high octane, still high power. Josh Allen is still looking like he is the potential front runner for MVP. Look up the odds on that one, but I'm sure he's quite high on that one. Talking about quarterbacks that are in the mix for MVP: Brock, Josh Allen. Fucking throw Sam Darnold in there for all I care at this point. But Buffalo Bills at that 3 spot. Losing to the Baltimore Ravens is definitely a huge hit and definitely doesn't look great for them. It looks like they got decimated, especially on paper. Watching the game, sometimes it looks a little bit different, but then now you have your third down pass rush specialist being out for the next handful of games, and Von Miller is going to hurt them a little bit. And not really a lot of depth behind them on that defensive side of the ball. Already not the most sturdy defense on the planet, with a couple of guys who are starting who might not be starting on other teams. Taylor Rapp, Damar Hamlin, and then their corners that they have on the outside of Teron Johnson, who I really like in the nickel spot. Outside of that, a couple of their corner spots in their secondary is a little bit shaky, and they could definitely be looked at with a little bit of a side eye, even with the performance that Damar Hamlin has been putting up this season as a safety. At the number 3 spot for you,
Detroit Lions.
Okay. It's a big bump up, right, for you?
Yeah, I watched every snap of that game, and it just put a fear in me a little bit, and I think that kind of stuck with me. Now they like I said, I did a couple iterations of this, and they were kind of bouncing all over the place. There's a team that's holding into the top 6 in the 49ers that I think it's just the respect that people are giving them right now, even though they're not really playing at that high of a level. But there's 2 things that you can kind of go off of that. The 49ers aren't playing at a high level, and they're still 2-2. Maybe that's why we should have them higher. The Lions are playing out of their mind. Can they continue it? Well, until they don't, this is a weekly power ranking system. So right now, there are 3 teams that I would not want to face, and in order, that's how I rank them. The Bills, I think the 49ers kind of tailor-made to beat that team with the way Fred Warner's playing right now, to take away everything happening in the middle of the field and the way he can run around.
Yeah.
And the Texans are just, they got to show me a little bit more. I haven't forgotten what happened in their playoff game last year. So.
Absolutely. And then our 2 and our 1 are the exact same then at that point, which feels like we've been
unless you put the Chiefs at 2.
I did not. And we're still on that. Unless the Chiefs are going to lose a ball game, probably not going to drop them outside of that. Minnesota Vikings at the number 2 spot, and the Kansas City Chiefs at the number 1 spot, unless you switched it for whatever reason. The Vikings look absolutely legit with the weapons. Brian Flores led defense and the blitz schemes they're coming from that guy, absolutely nuts. Brock Purdy's giving them their props after that game, obviously, but the Green Bay Packers, with a division game, ended up giving them a little bit of trouble there at that tail end. Still stuck around, still held out. Sam Darnold playing at a potential MVP level, being an MVP candidate. I believe he's still top 5 for those odds there. Aaron Jones at the running back position after not having a running back last year, and Alexander Madison and him looking like absolute shit. The offensive line looks good. You have multiple weapons and emerging weapons like guys like Jalen Naylor on the wide receiver position, obviously along with Jay Jettis, and you still have Jordan Addison as well. And you're still going to get back TJ Hawkinson this season. So the Minnesota Vikings look super legit on both sides of the ball, and I'm excited to continue to see how they progress and how they continue, because personally, and I feel like this for a lot of people, did not see them at this point at the season at all. And then looking forward, the JJ McCarthy discussion is definitely going to be interesting heading down the line. So, but same thing for you, Minnesota Vikings at 2 and the Chiefs at 1. Looks like we just lost Drew a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and continue it with the Kansas City Chiefs at that number 1 spot. Totally fine. Totally okay. So Kansas City Chiefs, number 1 spot. I've already said it, that we are not going to be dropping the Patrick Mahomes led Kansas City Chiefs out of our number 1 spot until they win, until they lose. They're 4-0. They're not losing a ball game yet. Is it ugly the way that they are winning? Absolutely. But beating the LA Chargers 17-10 doesn't matter. They are still at the number 1 spot. And Drew has decided to join the Tea Party once again. Drew, you want to go?
So if Riverside kicks me out because I have no internet, but I'm watching you on YouTube and it's still working, and I'm like, all right, cool. Well, at least I won't miss anything because I'm still watching it.
Go ahead. You're good.
Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs haven't lost. So, and do I think they're going to lose here soon? Probably. That offense is going to be in a little bit of shambles, but the Vikings have a game against the Jets that's kind of funky. The Lions are playing. Who's Detroit playing? Come on, Drew. Do they got a bye week?
They're on bye week. Yeah.
I hate bye weeks. Bye weeks should be illegal. So Detroit can't move up, and Houston is playing. Well, Houston's playing Buffalo. That's a massive game. Listen,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, if the Vikings come out and kind of look suspicious against the Jets, and the Chiefs come out and lose, and the Texans come out and smash Buffalo's face in, or Buffalo comes out and smashes the Texans' face in, maybe we could see a little movement right there at the top.
Yep,
we shall see.
This week 5, honestly, is a pretty good lineup. I think you have big implications for the AFC North with Cowboys versus Steelers on Sunday Night Football. But you also obviously have the Vikings and the Jets, wrong division. I was just talking about the lineup. Vikings and Jets in London, I think, is a very interesting game. I'll talk about that one way later. But you have the Ravens versus the Bengals, which have huge implications. Drew reacting to what I just said. The Ravens versus the Bengals having huge implications for that AFC North as well. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this is going to kind of shake out, especially and then continuing looking at the lineup, Bills Texans, probably the marquee matchup, but interdivision rivalry with the Cardinals and the 49ers as well. So it all looks like fun for week 5.
I think that Minnesota Vikings defense at 6:30 a.m. in London is going to make Aaron Rodgers look washed. Just
Maybe.
So you know.
That's okay.
Maybe you're going the other way with that, but that's going to be my bold prediction. We finally got a good Thursday night football game too.
Oh yeah, look at that. The Bucks and the Falcons, another interdivision. I mean, if Falcons win that game, they're sitting there tied at 3-2.
Yeah, we got Kirk Cousins and fuck it Mayfield.
Yeah, fucking Mayfield. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, so little Buffalo Wild Wings action Sunday night in Folsom to watch the Pittsburgh Cowboys game. What's up with that?
We could do that. Absolutely.
What's up with that?